our population at the end of the millennial reign. And we know as we go into the kingdom, we're going to be somewhere between 2 to 3 million people. But 1,000 years from now, or 1,000 years from then, what will our population be? And that will give a great clue as well as to why when heaven comes to earth at the end of 1,000 years, why it is so much larger. You know, heaven is roughly 2 billion square acres. And one of the things we would look at, it would be Isaiah 49:20. The children born during your bereavement will yet say in your hearing, the place is too small for us. Give us more space to live in. We know where our tribal lands are. In Ezekiel 48, when we go back, that's the second land division. And if they're starting to say it's too small, why is that? And the answer is in Torah, of all places. It's in Deuteronomy 1:11. And we have actually, it says it better in the Greek Septuagint, but I'll say it as the NIV would say it. May the Lord, the God of your ancestors, increase you 1,000 times and bless you as he promised. It's actually 1,000-fold in the Greek Septuagint. Has that ever happened before? That they've been 1,000 times. So in other words, the first Exodus, they went into the land with between 2 and 3 million people. Did they become 2 or 3 billion people? Not in all of human history as far as I know of. You know, the Northern Kingdom was kicked out very soon. They weren't that big. There's certainly not 2 to 3 billion Jews all over the world. It's, you know, they're lucky if they've ever reached 50 million. And so since this hasn't happened yet, and since it's out there in Torah, it will happen. And so if it's going to happen, when would it happen? During the millennial reign. The land division when we go into the millennial reign is larger than it was after the first Exodus. It goes all the way from Lebanon down through Israel and across the Sinai Peninsula, the entire Sinai Peninsula. And so because of that, you know, and each tribe, I don't want to get into the acreage, but roughly at the end of the 1,000-year reign, you're looking at between, and depending upon where you are, between 500 to 1,000 people per acre. Now, are all of those your family? No. Many of them are going to be foreigners at that point in time residing with us. They still have the same thing. They just don't own the land. We do. Those who went back on Exodus will be the ones who own the land. But they can come in and rent, and you know, so realistically, the Ezekiel 48 land division is a precursor to the biggest city. I mean, it's a gigantic city. The largest city right now for population, and by population I'm talking about population density, which would be Manila, Philippines. We're talking about 8 times the population density of Manila. And that's higher than Hong Kong, higher than Shanghai for population density. And again, 8 times that amount. And again, it's a good thing he's given us 1,000 years so we can be prepared for that, because that's going to be a lot of building as we get bigger and bigger. No wonder our children are going to say, man, I got to go somewhere else. You know, I just can't fit in a place where I've got 1,000 people per acre or 500 people per acre. Again, at 1,000 people an acre, you're looking at 8 times the population density of Manila currently. And at 500, again, you're at 4 times the population. But you're, you know, for the population to go up by 30% is a big deal. For the most populated area on Earth, and we're doing it by a factor of 4 or 8. I mean, that's a huge issue. Now, if again, assuming that we go back to the kingdom with 2 million people, that puts us at 2 billion at the end of the millennial reign Again, that will include the foreigners living amongst us. But what's really interesting about that is in the when heaven comes to earth, those dimensions are just slightly over 2 billion acres. So I'm not saying everybody at that end time will get in, but again, we're talking about a very dense population even when we get to heaven. It's an interesting thing.